People talk a lot about passive income.
It is not a thing. Look, there's two ways to get wealthier, and passive income is not part of that equation.
Morgan Housel debunks the widely held belief in passive income as a magic route to wealth. He stresses that the core reality is there are fundamentally only two paths to becoming wealthier: sacrifice more or want less. Sacrificing more means working harder, often in stressful jobs requiring tough trade-offs like time away from family. Wanting less involves curbing desires and cultivating contentment rather than endlessly chasing status symbols or bigger earnings. Passive income, often romanticized through ideas like owning rental properties, is seldom truly passive. Managing real estate requires active effort, maintenance, and dealing with tenants. Even interest or dividend income hinges on the hard-earned principal accumulated through prior sacrifice. This perspective invites a shift from seeking easy answers to embracing the realities of hard work, delayed gratification, and managing one's wants effectively. Morgan argues that framing money as a tool for purchasing independence, rather than simply amassing assets, reframes saving and spending philosophies into empowering choices. His pragmatic and psychologically informed outlook challenges get-rich-quick narratives and offers a foundational mindset for long-term financial security.
So much of spending is a psychological itch that you're trying to scratch, and that manifests in so many different ways. For example, life is a competition. It doesn't matter how well I'm doing, it matters how well I'm doing relative to you.
Spending is rarely just about acquiring things. It's a deeply psychological activity motivated by multiple factors, including envy, social signaling, self-worth, and competition. Morgan explores how people's spending decisions are often attempts to gain social approval or assert status relative to their peers, revealing why material possessions serve as trophies for personal or social validation rather than simply functional assets. This dynamic drives an arms race of consumption, exacerbated by social media that broadcasts lifestyles and amplifies peer comparison worldwide. The phenomenon is so ingrained that winning something like the lottery can ironically increase financial distress among neighbors as aspirational pressures push others to overextend financially. Morgan highlights the paradox where individuals may pursue status symbols not for intrinsic pleasure, but because they feel those symbols bring respect and recognition they otherwise lack, especially early in life. Understanding this psychological frame helps break down why people struggle with their spending and why neither reckless spending nor extreme frugality linked to trauma or money scarcity mindsets are healthy. Instead, spending with self-awareness about motivation, whether it be utility or status, is key to aligning financial decisions with personal well-being.
If you are already an unhappy person, if you're already anxious, if you're already depressed, by and large, having more money will not help you, at least that much. It might help you a little bit around the margins.
Morgan unpacks the nuanced relationship between money and happiness, revealing that money's ability to elevate well-being depends largely on pre-existing personal circumstances. For individuals already struggling with anxiety, depression, or dissatisfaction, increased income offers only marginal relief and does not resolve deeper emotional or psychological issues. Conversely, those who start from a relatively content and joyful base will generally find that money enhances their life quality by a wider margin. This insight challenges the simplistic cultural narrative that more money automatically brings happiness. Morgan further clarifies that happiness as an emotional experience tends to be fleeting, akin to laughter lasting moments, whereas contentment, a lasting state of being okay with what one has, is the true aim. He explains that domestic life filled with love, purpose, health, and social connections tends to bring more lasting joy than material wealth alone. Money helps ease constraints and afford independence, but cannot substitute for meaningful relationships and purpose. This perspective encourages listeners to calibrate expectations, aim for contentment over constant chasing of material milestones, and invest money in ways that genuinely support their holistic well-being.
The formula for a pretty good life is independence plus purpose. If you want to say, like, how can I be a happy person? You need to be independent. You need to be able to do what you want to do, when you want to do it, with whom you want to do it with. And you need some kind of purpose that is higher than yourself.
Morgan introduces a simple yet profound formula for happiness and financial freedom, combining independence and purpose. Independence means having enough financial flexibility and life autonomy to make choices about where you live, work, and how you spend your time without undue obligation or constraint. Saving money plays a crucial role here, as saving buys independence by creating the option to say no to undesired work or situations. Purpose, meanwhile, adds meaning to life by providing a reason beyond oneself to wake up every day, whether through family, career, friendship, or community. Morgan highlights how early retirement dreams sometimes fail because people attain independence but lose purpose, leading to boredom. True well-being requires both. He underscores that dependence itself isn't negative, it's the choice of who or what we are dependent upon. Being dependent on loved ones or fulfilling work is enriching, whereas being captive to loathed jobs or toxic environments is debilitating. This framework helps reorient money philosophies from purely accumulating wealth to thoughtfully investing in freedom and meaning, shaping financial goals to the specific purpose and desires of each individual.
Social media, that's always been the case, and social media makes it 100 times worse than it's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
For example, you and I are recording this a day after Charlie Kirk was assassinated yesterday. And there were, who knows what percentage it was, but I think it was not hard on social media to find people who were celebrating it yesterday.
Morgan touches on the profound societal impact of social media in intensifying political polarization, tribalism, and outrage culture. While societal divisions and conflicts have always existed, social media platforms amplify these tensions by design, maximizing user engagement through surfacing content that triggers emotional reactions like fear, anger, or schadenfreude. The effect is a fragmentation of the public discourse into echo chambers where empathy and nuance are severely diminished. Morgan cites the example of a recent political assassination and how on social media, expressions of celebration and extreme opinions were shockingly visible and widespread, contrasting sharply with past eras when such sentiments were more hidden from public view. This dehumanization and real-time visibility of extreme sentiments contribute to heightened societal anxiety and mistrust. The conversation also explores how people's views are often shaped more by algorithm-driven engagement than reality, and reminds us that online content is performative, curated, and optimized to keep us hooked, not informed. While acknowledging the near-term dangers, Morgan remains cautiously optimistic that history's cyclical nature may see these divisions diminish over time, although the path is uncertain.
Happiness is when your expectations of how your life is supposed to be going are met.
Yes.
And so through that lens, I look at everything. I look at like the food that you're given in a restaurant. And if you expected it to be this and it doesn't come like that, there's unhappiness.
A powerful insight shared by Morgan is the central role of expectations in shaping personal happiness and frustration. Drawing from a quote on happiness as the alignment of expectations and reality, Morgan illustrates how unmet expectations, even in seemingly minor areas like restaurant meals or quiet train cars, trigger dissatisfaction. This explains why people can be objectively well off or surrounded by abundance, yet feel chronically unhappy if their internal expectations escalate beyond what reality delivers. The podcast emphasizes adjusting expectations downward or within personally meaningful boundaries as a practical route toward greater contentment. Developing gratitude is highlighted as a counterbalance, zooming out to appreciate the small and often overlooked blessings like health, family, and basic conveniences. This shift helps reframe one's worldview from focusing on scarcity or lack to recognizing sufficiency. Morgan notes that across the wealth spectrum, people tend to desire 2 to 3 times what they currently have, perpetuating a cycle of dissatisfaction. By managing this perpetual horizon of wanting through awareness, humility, and reflection, individuals can improve their emotional well-being and reduce destructive comparison and consumption drives.